The Angels signed former Blue Jays All-Star Alek Manoah to a one-year deal, but that can't be the end.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day, and now the #1 sports podcast network in all the land. So there's this deal with Alek Manoah and the Angels. Is it a good deal? We're going to discuss that today. How are the Angels going to use Alek Manoah? That's really important to 2026. And what are the baseball people saying about this signing? It's actually kind of positive. We'll get there in our final segment. Before we talk about the Angels, we want to thank our sponsor, FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the FanDuel app today.
Thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is Jon, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother Jon.
Mike, we have a busy offseason so far. We haven't even hit the winter meetings yet, which start on Sunday, December 7th. I can't believe they're almost here. But the Angels have made some significant moves, and maybe like a not-so-significant move. And that is the big trade, of course, for Taylor Ward, for Grayson Rodriguez. And then on Tuesday, they signed starting pitcher Alek Manoah to a one-year, $1.95 million deal. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, Jeff Passan broke that news, and Alek Manoah is 27 years old. John, he was non-tendered by the Atlanta Braves. They picked him up after the Jays non-tendered him in September of this year, and then they didn't really do much with him, and they didn't offer him a contract. The deal with the Angels, John, is fully guaranteed big league deal. So it's a major league deal, not a minor league deal. Now, Manoah has 75 career starts, has a total of 420 innings pitched, and he has a career 3.34 ERA. Was great for the Blue Jays in 2021 and 2022. Manoah's 22 season, he was an all-star. And then, John, in 2023, he wasn't the same pitcher. That's the infamous year where we saw him throw a ball that hit Taylor Ward in the face. And that was terrible for Taylor Ward. But also, Alek Manoah was not thrilled with himself in that moment either. He had no control that season. His velo was down 1 to 2 miles an hour, especially on his fastball. Could not get the break on his breaking pitches that season. Really struggled mentally. And Johnny, a deeper dive into his numbers actually give us the full picture of what happened to Alek Manoah.
Yeah, let's talk about it. In 2021, he had a 10.24 Ks per 9. So that's above 10 strikeouts per game, and a 3.22 walks per 9. Then, Mike, in 2022, his best season, he had an 8.24 Ks per 9, but a 2.33 walks per 9. So the strikeout went down, but the walk rate went down as well, which is good. His K percentage in 21 was 27.7, and his walk percentage was about league average, 8.7%. The K percentage in 2022 was 22.9. Again, it kind of fell, but in contrast to that, the walk percentage was 6.5%. Mike, those numbers drastically changed in 2023. The Ks per 9 fell to 8.4, and the walks per 9 climbed up to 6.08. So it's about 6 walks per 9 innings. His K percentage also fell to 19%, and his walk rate was 14.2%, almost double what it was in that 21 season. So you can see why he was struggling. He wasn't missing any bats like he was before. He wasn't hitting the zone like he was before. In fact, he got sent down to the minors in 2023 to try and get right for the Blue Jays.
His numbers kind of bounced back, Johnny, in 2024 after making 1 start in single A and then 4 in triple A. He was brought back up to the majors, and John, his K rate was right back to where he was kind of averaging, 25.2%. His walk rate was 7.8%, so right around league average, a little bit under league average, and that matched his career line. But that was only in 5 starts because he had Tommy John surgery, who was having a bit of shoulder issues and then the arm issue, and Manoah had to have surgery. Now, he did return from surgery, and he made 10 rehab starts in the minors in 2025. He posted a 3.96 ERA with 35 strikeouts and 23 walks in 38 and 2/3 innings. That included a 2.97 ERA in 33 and a third innings in AAA Buffalo. But the Blue Jays designated for him for assignment in September of this last year, September 23rd. They were looking to get a roster spot back for Anthony Santander. They had Trey Yasevich that was in the minor leagues. They brought him up.
That worked out pretty well.
Why they did designate him for assignment. So it wasn't for any other reason outside of like he just wasn't a priority and wasn't ready to perform for them. Jon, Manoah has 2 minor league options, so the Angels can send him up and down this year and next year, and he is going to be in arbitration those 2 years as well. So you could get a good number depending on what he does this season. Jon, big question is, do these numbers, do they tell or give a better narrative about Manoah than maybe what's out there right now? Because what's out there seems to be like, he's kind of like in the bargain bin and he really struggled. Angel fans, especially, we're just thinking about that terrible game with Taylor Ward and he didn't have any control, right? And he wasn't the same guy that we had seen previous. And there's been a lot of hype about him and he was going to be the ace of the staff. These numbers, do they give a better narrative about Manoah than maybe what's in our minds and in our hearts right now?
I think it tells the story of somebody who's coming back from Tommy John surgery, Mike. To have that in 2024, I think it was the end of May or early June, because he pitched the month of May, those 5 starts. But it tells the story of somebody who is working his way back from Tommy John surgery, and the fact that in 2025, he's rehabbing, he's doing these things. Those are not bad numbers for the minor league. And of course, the 10 rehab starts, a 3.96 ERA, 35 strikeouts, 23 walks. It's not a bad little ratio there. But at the end of the day, it's somebody who's coming back from Tommy John surgery. Mm-hmm. It's $2 million. It's not a big deal unless their plan is to put him into the rotation. And that's something that I would not agree with. This can't be the last move that they make for the starting rotation. Do I think that it will be? Not before the winter meetings. If this happened after the winter meetings and the Angels were silent, I'd be concerned that this was their big move, right? But I've been seeing this everywhere. Low risk, high reward, because you don't need to cut him loose right away. If he stinks, you can send him down to the minor leagues. It's essentially, this is the guy you call up instead of Jack Kohanowitz, right? Mm-hmm. This is the guy who's going to come up and make a spot start for you. So I don't know, we'll get into how the Angels might be using him later on. But like I said, I think this is the story. This is the path of somebody who is recovering from Tommy John surgery and is working his way back. The Blue Jays just didn't have the need, like you mentioned, and they needed Santander on that roster. They brought up Trey Yasevich. They were confident in what they had. It kind of reminds me of the fact that the Orioles were willing to trade Grayson Rodriguez to the Angels for Taylor Ward. They addressed a significant need that they had in the outfield with Taylor Ward. They needed his bat. They needed some pop, and they're going to certainly get that from him. And so it kind of makes you go, okay, well then, is Mike Elias going to add some starting pitching? Well, it seems to be the case. I mean, they added Ryan Helsley for the bullpen, mm-hmm. So it looks like the Orioles are in a position to spend. And I say all that because there are teams out there who they can move on from a Grayson Rodriguez or an Alek Manoah. Mike, that's 2 pitchers that you're really kind of counting on bouncing back in 2026. Grayson Rodriguez more so than Alek Manoah. But it can't be a bad thing to get him around somebody like Mike Maddux. I feel like that's what the Angels are really banking on here, is to get him around Mike Maddux to help him kind of find who he was again. It's annoying, and I understand why fans are frustrated, because it's the kind of move they make every offseason, right? Mm-hmm. It's the kind of move that, somebody has to be 6, 7, 8 in the pecking order. And every time somebody is signed for that 6, 7, and 8 spot in the pecking order, everyone goes, oh, geez, here we go again, bargain bin. These moves happen every offseason. In case you haven't noticed, these kinds of things happen every offseason. And so for Alek Manoah to be that far down the list, again, I hope so. This can't be the solution. It's fine. It's $2 million. It's barely above league average. And if it works out, it's going to be a really great thing for the Angels, in my opinion.
John, there's a song by Dusty Springfield that's titled "Wishin' and Hopin' and Plannin' and Schemin'," right? Like I don't even know if that's the lyric, if it's scheming or not, but that's what it feels like when the Angels move into the offseason and they make moves like this. I get what you're saying. If this is like number 7 or number 8 in the pecking order, the problem is the emotion that Angel fans bring to this situation is we've been trained to know that he's not going to be number 7.
It's not 8. Unwarranted. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the problem is you are probably going to want to rely on this guy. And we all look at it and go, yeah, it's probably not a good idea. But then we go, well, with Artie Sandbox and the finances, and I'm tired of that narrative, man. And I know that none of that changes until some big changes happen, but that's what this move feels like. It feels like Matt Harvey, maybe a better version of Matt Harvey from a few years ago. It feels like we're just kind of
Tim Lincecum,
right? Dylan Bundy, that Dylan Bundy trade, right? Like it just kind of feels like that. Like we're wishing, we're hoping, and we're praying that this actually works out. And if it does work out, fantastic. I'll eat my words. That'll be great. But I'm kind of meh about this move. If it is a move that is supposed to impact the team and the starting rotation, and all signs point to yes, right? Like, because that's what's happening here with the Angels. Everything that they do is for right now. They're not thinking about for the future, and everything they do is on the cheap so that we can try to win. And really, this is why we've really pressed on the Angels communicating to the fans what they're actually trying to do, because we don't know what they're trying to do. We just assume they're trying to win because that's what they do every single season. And then we look at this move and we see the Grayson Rodriguez move and we go, well, that's not going to do it. You have to wish and hope and plan and scheme and pray that it's going to happen instead of actually being a team that's competitive and filling your team with guys that you know that you can count on. Three of their 5 starters potentially are going to be guys that we can count on. And you've got 2 guys in Grayson Rodriguez and in Alek Manoah, if he's the 5th starter, that we just don't know what we're going to get from them. And I would even say maybe 3 of the starters, because you really don't know what you're going to get from Reid Detmers because he's being inserted back into the starting rotation. So it feels like we're kind of hoping and trying not to let the silly putty drip through our hands, that we're going to keep trying to put it back into a ball again. And that's what's really frustrating. And I get the sentiment from Angel fans.
What a metaphor. I like that.
Thank you.
Now, listen, at this point, $2 million, not a huge deal.
Sure.
Like I said, if it works out, it's going to be great because Alek Manoah certainly is capable of doing that. But Mike, I think Sister Swilly at Swilly Sports, she's the Super Halo sister, and John Boy, she put it best when she said, we have to stop thinking about like, well, it's a low risk, high reward thing. Like, yeah, that's what this is. And that's what everybody's saying. That's what we've said. However, it's frustrating that we have to say that again. Mm-hmm. It's frustrating that that has to be the Angels fans' mentality. Like, basically what she was saying is, we deserve better. Mm-hmm. We deserve better than this. And if the Angels don't provide better than this in the offseason, it's going to be another rehash of what they've been doing over the last few seasons. And that's why fans are frustrated. I get it. There is an element of it's nuance, right? Like, it's both can be true. You could be frustrated that this move happened. And I should say a third can be true because, yes, it is low risk, high reward. And the fact is, you got to sign guys like this. You've got to have them on your 40-man as part of your roster because you need about, I think Nate Green over at Talkin' Halo says it all the time, you need like 13 pitchers to get through a season. And I don't disagree with that sentiment. I think that's very, very true. Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Coming up, how are the Angels going to use Alek Manoah? Will our worst fears be confirmed by Perry Minasian if he is the 5th man in the rotation? Or is there another plan for Mr. Manoah? We'll talk about all of that coming right up.
Those NFL Sunday games, they move really, really fast. Even the Monday games, the Thursday games move really fast. In fact, one big play and suddenly everything feels real different. That's why live betting with FanDuel is so exciting. So I'm not great at this. I'm not great at it, but FanDuel actually is very clear on helping you to be pretty good, at least at this, maybe even move into great. And they give good direction on the app. So you should download it as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlighted moment, it's all listed on FanDuel. And then it gives direction on how you can place your bets and what would be a good bet if you're a football fan, because FanDuel works with the NFL and you love the 49ers. It's always a good bet to bet on Christian McCaffrey, because that guy is going to get a catch. He's going to run. He's going to get in the end zone. Something's going to happen. So use FanDuel and benefit from the greatness that is Christian McCaffrey. And get started right now at FanDuel.com. You can place all of those live NFL bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you.
This is the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Now the #1 sports podcast network across the nation. So let's go. And we thank you for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Hey, listen, whether you're watching or listening, come on over to YouTube. Get in the comments section, because we want to hear from you and how you feel about this this signing of Alek Manoah and your opinions on what we're about to talk about. How are the Angels going to use Alek Manoah, Mike? What will his role be in 2026? Now, he's been a starter. The Angels need a 5th starter currently.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not excited about that math, Michael. I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
Yeah, and being signed to a major league deal says that he is going to be in the mix, if not already the 5th guy. Yeah. And because of his options, the Angels do have the ability to move him up and down next year. So if he's not great, then they can make some pivots and some adjustments. He might be a spot starter. He has the potential to be a long reliever. I saw some everydayers that said maybe he can be the guy that fills in for Reid Detmers in the bullpen. I don't know if they would put him there unless he really just blows up as a starter. There's a lot of roles that he could play, but I really think that the thing that we really need to consider is, one, the Angels seem to move with guys like this and just place them like in a spot that maybe they haven't earned or deserved yet. And so that's where I think, again, some of the frustration comes from. But 2, with a guy like this, I think what we've learned in the past is that there can be some excitement and some hype, and there's like, oh, hey, he's going to be great if he's healthy, or he's going to be great if he's recovered, or he's going to be great if, right? And then May comes along and they're sending him down, or they're DFAing him, or right? Like, and that can be very, very frustrating as well. And then Angel fans go, see, right? And so I bring it back to the question, John, how will the Angels use him? But answer this as well. How should the Angels use him?
Oh, good question. I think how the Angels will use him to at least start out the season, I would say, Mike, that he might fit that Carson Fulmer role. Remember that he had become kind of the long man. Even in 2024, had some opportunities to start. In 2025, they didn't do that with him. But he was a guy that if somebody didn't give you a good enough outing, or maybe they had like a bullpen opener, Carson Fulmer was the one to kind of give you 3, 4, maybe 5 innings to get you through the game. And I could see Alek Manoah being that kind of guy, especially as he works his way back from Tommy John surgery. Because honestly, how else are you going to kind of work your way back? Now, I know he had 35 some odd innings in the minor leagues, and that's great. But I still think that you're going to need more time. You're going to need more time to get a feel for things. You got to face major league hitting, because that's not something he's done in the minor leagues in all of 2025. It concerns me that the Braves didn't tender him a contract, and maybe that's a money thing. Maybe that's a situation on their end, but at the same time, why not keep him around in your organization unless you saw something you didn't like, right? That's what's concerning to me.
Well, I did read some extra stuff on Alek Manoah, and there is some conversation about like they couldn't come to an agreement on a number. And that was part of it. The number was too high for what the Braves wanted to do.
Yeah.
And that was the major issue there. Why are we going to give this guy this much money? And we're not sure what he can bring to this team. And the Braves team is a team that is actually competitive. And so they didn't want to throw money around to somebody like that. So I get your question. I think that from what I've read, it seems to be more of a financial decision rather than he's not good, he's broken kind of a decision.
Yeah, that makes sense. On the same day that Cody Ponce got signed by the Blue Jays for 3 years, $30 million,
$10 million a year. That's fantastic.
Right.
That's fantastic.
That's the kind of move that the Angels should be making, whether that's Tyler Mahle or somebody in that category. I think that needs to be the move. So again, what's Alek Manoah going to be? I am afraid that, especially if the Angels can't get anything done in the next week, especially with the winter meetings coming up, that Alek Manoah is going to be the guy that they turn to. It shouldn't be. Let me make that clear. It should not be. And that's what concerns me the most. As a long reliever, I'd be okay with that. Mike, if he starts the year in AAA, that's also a possibility. Now, how should they use him? I answered the question, what will the Angels do? And I'm split between the Carson Fulmer role and just making him the fifth starter. So maybe I didn't answer that question quite as well as I should have. But in your opinion, how should they be using Alek Manoah, especially to start 2026?
I think he needs to be the guy that they turn to instead of Jack Kahanowitz. I think that would be the perfect role for him, because then there isn't any pressure. He can develop, work through what he needs to work through in AAA. He might put up great numbers. That's great. But you're going to need a spot starter or somebody to take a start or two throughout the year, right? And as Talking Halos has said, like, you're going to need about 13 pitchers, and the Angels were lucky last year. They didn't need that many starters. I don't know if that's going to be the case this year. John, you're going to need somebody to perhaps fill in for Grayson Rodriguez, because he's not going to be somebody that's going to pitch 150 innings this year, not because he's going to be hurt, but because I think they're going to take it really slow with him. You have this guy for 4 years. You're not going to rush him. And even if you're in the race, you're not going to rush him. So I think that we'll see Alek Manoah pitch in Grayson Rodriguez's start maybe 5 or 6 times this year. He might fill in other spots. That's how they should use him instead of going to Jack Kahanowitz, because Jack Kahanowitz needs to stay in the minor leagues until he figures out what his repertoire will be, how much he's going to throw fastball and then his sinker, and if he's going to add another pitch, instead of throwing him down there for 5 innings and then bringing him back up. Alek Manoah fits that role so much better. John, my heart, as I talk about it, I just had all of my anxiety wash away when I talked about Alek Manoah being the 6th starter, being the guy that comes up and fills in, because I think that that's perfect. And then what you get is a former All-Star who maybe things start to click because he is around a really good pitching coach, and because he is recovered from Tommy John surgery, and because he's starting to figure out how to get the bite on his off-speed stuff, and that his fastball is playing off of that. That makes me feel a whole lot better about this move. The struggle is, how will the Angels use him? John, I think he's going to be the 5th starter. I don't think that they're going to go and get anybody else. If they do, I'll be excited, but I think he's going to be the 5th starter, and I'm not a fan of that at all.
Okay, so if they do sign a real 5th starter, or they make a trade or something like that, you have to be the one to do the reaction video for that, because of what you just said. Now, listen, let me just play the what if game here, right? What if it's really bad? What if Alek Manoah doesn't have it? What if he comes back? He comes into spring training. It's just clear that he doesn't quite have it back. The worst that can happen is that he goes down to AAA, floats down there for a while, and they call him up when they need a spot start, right? He's in reserve, not a big deal. The best that can happen, Mike, is that he looks like the all-star that he once was. I think it's significant to say that these days, Tommy John is not the death sentence that it once was. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, for sure. And I think the other piece that I would really want Angel fans to pay attention to is, we shared his strikeout numbers versus his walk numbers. And in the year that he really struggled, his walk numbers were double digit. John, I don't think that was just because he was sore. He had some soreness and had some issues and had some injuries. I also think it was his mechanics. And who's great at figuring out really smooth, healthy mechanics?
Yeah.
Oh, the pitching coach that we just hired, right?
Yeah.
And that's why Tyler Mahle had a really good year last year. So I think that getting him around Mike Maddux is going to be a really good thing. I just don't want to throw him right into, we're counting on you. I would rather have the Angels put him in a situation where we'd like to count on you. So you need to figure it out, bud.
Yeah. How many days until we hear Perry Minasian say, we really like Alek. We like his makeup. We like his, his great locker room, that kind of stuff. That's, yeah. What's the over under on how many days there? So again, I think, you mentioned his walk rate. Look, that's why he hit Taylor Ward in the face. He had no control.
Nothing.
He had no control over what he was doing out there. And that's something that's really going to have to be addressed. Mike, we have said that any of the starters that the Angels pick up, they can't be putting on guys on base. They can't be giving away free passes. They have to keep the whip down.
Right. Run prevention is what they need to do this year. They need to prevent runs more than they score runs because they weren't able to do that last year.
So again, if that's what he's able to offer at some point, and the record shows that he's had a modest walk rate, league average. He's been better than league average, and he's been worse than league average. So really roll that 8-sided die and see what's going to happen with Alek Manoah. That's kind of what it feels like with this signing, what the Angels are hoping for next season.
If you read the reactions of Angel fans when Angels make a move, make a trade, sign somebody, whatever the case might be, you're probably going to get really irritated or really hyped up because there's no in between at all, which is why we love to see what other Angel talking heads who have a lot of credibility have said about the moves that the Angels have made, like Jared Timms of Talking Halos. He posted on X. He said, normally you've got to be okay with a sub $2 million signing, but Alek Manoah didn't pitch in the majors in 2025 and has pitched just over 100 innings in the majors since 2022. Plus he got DFA'd. So you got to find a way to get these guys, but find a way to get these guys on minor league deals.
I understand where Jared's coming from, especially with the cost, but in Angel land, I think $2 million is not too significant.
Yeah.
I also think that, Mike, you're the Angels. You got to incentivize a little bit. And so to give him a guaranteed major league contract, I think that's the thinking behind what it costs to get Alek Manoah to the Angels. Because, again, like you said, you couldn't agree with a number with the Braves.
Yep.
And so it just makes sense that, all right, well, we'll up the ante a little bit and we'll give you a major league deal. It's all guaranteed no matter what happens here.
Light bulb moment. And it's something that's obvious, but when these signings happen, I know that there can be frustration, like, oh, come on, what about the? But I think you're right. The major league deal is why he came to the Angels.
Yeah.
If it was a minor league deal, he's going to sign with the Yankees, right?
Right.
But this is part of being the Angels. We say it all the time. Fans, you say it all the time, that nobody's going to come here. Well, this is why you have to kind of up the ante a little bit. Sure, we'll give you almost $2 million and we'll guarantee you a major league roster spot, which is probably why they may not send him down unless he completely falls apart.
I think to address Jared's point too about getting him on a minor league deal, part of what works here is those 2 option years. So they can send him up and down throughout this year and possibly next year. And I think that's significant. I think that it kind of operates like a minor league deal, if that makes sense. I know he has to take up a 40-man roster spot, but at the same time, they're down to, well, I think at this point, I think they're up to 33 now. So they've got some flexibility in terms of what the roster looks like. How about a Locked On Angels Hall of Famer, one-time host, Taylor Blake Ward? I've been calling him Grayson Blake Rodriguez because got to change his name now. He said, Alek Manoah was an all-star in 2022, but he saw his control evaporate in 23 and had a short, modest success in 24 before going down with the UCL tear. Manoah gets 2.5 times the league minimum as a bounce back candidate. By the way, his brother Eric pitched in the Angels organization from 2016 to 2019. from the Fernando Salas trade. There's a guy who Mike Scioscia loved going to almost every single night, Fernando Salas.
Yeah. In that very Angels story, though, like, oh, you have a Manoah? Yeah, Eric.
Yeah.
we don't have Alek. We have Eric. And then I was watching the MLB Network, John, and they had a breaking news moment. And here's what they said. The host said, the players that were on the panel said, this is a great deal for Manoah because it's a chance to get right. He's going to have a long leash. And then they said, it's also pretty great for the Angels because if Manoah can be what he once was, which everybody believes that he can, you have a frontline starter under contract for a very cheap number, and you have him for at least 2 more seasons because I believe his arbitration or free agency hits in like 28.
Yeah, he doesn't currently have enough service time to be out of arbitration yet, so they can negotiate a new number for 2027 if it comes to that, right?
Yeah. John, I'll say it one more time, and I would love your final thought here. If they stay healthy guys, that can't be it, right? Like they have to go and get another guy that they can count on, and maybe not Tyler Mahle because Tyler Mahle's been injured. Like they have to go and get another arm that they can say, like a Tyler Anderson, he's going to be out there for 31, 32 starts, right? They have to do that.
They got to get somebody like that because only Yusei Kikuchi has sniffed 180 innings in the rotation that they have so far. I was having great conversations before this news broke yesterday just about Mitch Keller and what he would be able to offer. I know that he's not the flashiest guy. I know that he's not the most exciting starting arm, but Mike, he hits 180 innings plus. And like I always say, 180 is the new 200.
Yeah.
So the Angels, they need bulk and they need good bulk. It can't be bad bulk. It's got to be good bulk.
Yes.
You know, you go to Costco, you gotta buy in bulk and you got to get all the good stuff here. So no matter how this works out, obviously we don't want Manoah to slot right in as the number 5 starter. That's way too risky. He hasn't pitched that many innings over the last few years, like Jared mentioned. And you need a guy who can eat up some innings and not just be an innings eater, but somebody who keeps you competitive. Keller is certainly that. I think Keller has, at best 3 stuff and at worst 4 stuff. And if he provides you the innings that you need to just be a workhorse, that's what the Angels need at this point in time. They've got potential. They've got sure things. They've got, guys who can grow to the next step, and somebody like Soriano and possibly even Detmers. They know what they're going to get from Kikuchi, and Grayson Rodriguez is potential. You don't need another potential guy. You need somebody who can give you solid innings that you can count on, that you can rely on, and know what you're going to get with him. So I don't think this is the end. As concerned as you and I are about it being the end, it just can't be the end. It can't be. It can't be the end, Mike.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day and helping us to get to over 1 million downloads on the audio side and 10,000 subscribers plus on the YouTube side. Be sure to like and subscribe while you're here. Helps the show out, and it's the best way to stay updated on all things Angels throughout the offseason.
All right, be sure you're following us on social media, on Twitter at Locked On Angels, at Super Halo Bros on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok for all the latest and greatest breaking news coming out of Angel Land. Mike, what do we have on deck for tomorrow's show?
Well, Jeff Passan connected our team, to a few really intriguing players, a couple of pitchers. One of them you already mentioned. And if they get those pitchers, I'm going to feel a whole lot better about this move. We're going to talk about why he connected us and what it could mean for our team in 2026 tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
Yeah, you're doing the breaking news video if there is another pitching move. So, all right, friends, we hope you'll come back and join us for that. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
All right, all you sickos who love the Angels and all the everydayers who love to watch and listen, we'll see you back here on Thursday.
Breaking news, Alek Manoah, 18-6 with a 2.97 ERA. That'd be fantastic.
Come on.